Hello again, it's Crew Call here on the Motor Racing Network, taking you into the garage and talking to the folks that make the race cars, that is, go around the racetrack, cars and track. We are so glad you've joined us. Steve Post, Motor Racing Network Pit Road Reporter. Before we get started here, if you like what we're doing here on Crew Call, make sure you like, share, subscribe, rate, review, or whatever your platform allows you to do so we can continue to spread the word. As I mentioned, Steve Post here, along with 25-time and championship-winning crew chief Todd Gordon. Hello, Todd. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm glad I was a crew chief this weekend.
Boy, I'm telling you what, it was a crew chief. So the Rolaids would have been out for all the crew chiefs. That's for sure. What a challenging race. What an interesting dynamic first round of the playoffs, Todd.
Yes.
Because I don't.
What happened? Was this a home run derby?
Yeah,
because I thought we were trying to hit base hits here.
And there was a lot of people that struck out
Yes.
on whether it was Bristol or whether it was Worldwide Technology or Darlington.
Yeah, all three. I was surprised. I looked at it and I feel like I might be a little bit off, but I think the first car out was at 2,056 points, and we felt like, and he had some bonus points to start with.
Yeah.
So 50 points over 3 races just doesn't
seem like a lot.
Yeah, it doesn't. I think it was 51 or something like that. But we had so many issues. And that's, I guess, where the racing's gotten to. But all you had to do was block and tackle for football terms. Base hits, but even, down the middle of the fairway for golf terms. Whatever sport you want to take.
Even some of the drivers and teams that transferred on did not do that.
No,
it was a matter of the less, you had less poor execution than the other teams in some instances.
Yeah, and you look at the 4 that ended up out, and I felt for Josh Berry. I talked to Miles Stanley. They had an adjustment error in the rear rounds at Darlington. That was self-induced. Right. But then
get tangled up with Chase Elliott at Worldwide Technology.
Yep.
And then whatever's going on with rocker panels and Ford and tires and catch on fire.
I mean, they had pace.
Mm-hmm.
Shane Van Gisbergen, we knew would be a stretch to try to make it through.
Yep.
He's not. His background is in oval racing. He's learning it, but he's not championship caliber learning it.
The SVG is if he can sneak through round 1 with the Roval in round 2, he could make the round of 8.
And then he would be eliminated in the round of 8.
Right. But sneak through, yes, exactly.
He's not one that was. He's a rookie.
Yes, absolutely.
He shouldn't be contending for a championship.
No, absolutely.
Austin Dillon. Mm-hmm. I really think that that RCR team, they still lack speed.
Yep.
And they just have to work through it. So it's one of those situations. I really felt like, the base hit piece, and they made a change coming into Bristol, but the 48 team had the space.
Yeah, they were fast enough,
they had a debacle of a pit situation at Darlington. It was 40 seconds because they weren't prepared. They had a speeding penalty and a debacle of a pit situation at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Bristol was the only race they really put together.
And they only failed to transfer by 10 points.
Yeah.
With a 40-second pit stop at Darlington. With, 5 points from each of those races, and Austin Cindric's going home, or 6 points. 11 points.
When you look at it, Austin Cindric became that close because they had a rocker box fire.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, he was actually. It's just
Chase Elliott.
Amazing.
We go up the list. Chase Elliott.
Yeah.
Ross Chastain.
Thought he was going to sneak into a thing. Ended up.
Ross Chastain. Joey was next up on the list. We're starting to get to. They performed
Joey,
all right.
I actually think performed all right because he was below the cut line to start with. Their regular season didn't get them in a comfortable position.
But you look at Ross, you look at Chase Elliott, you look at Austin Cindric. That got awful close for those 3.
Yeah.
Ross was 24 points so good, but I just don't know where the speed and the performance on that car is right now.
You know who didn't have problems?
Who didn't have problems?
Joe Gibbs Racing.
They did not have problems at all.
All 3 of their playoff teams.
They had no problems at all.
Won the 3 races.
Yes, indeed. So let's do this. We are going to step away. Since you mentioned Joe Gibbs Racing, why don't we dial up one of those crew chiefs? In fact, the one that won on Saturday night and is going to New Hampshire where his driver wins seemingly every time. Adam Stevens from Joe Gibbs Racing. He joins us next.
The NASCAR channel is available now on Tubi. Tell them we got it. 24/7 news, documentaries with access to the exclusive NASCAR Vault. The NASCAR channel. Always on, always free. Only on Tubi.
Welcome back. It is Crew Call. Todd Gordon and Steve Post here. And prior to our little break, Todd mentioned Joe Gibbs Racing. And well, let's head over there. Christopher Bell's crew chief, Adam Stevens, joins us. And Adam, want to talk a little bit about your effort at Bristol, but kind of want to go maybe big picture a little bit as well. Joe Gibbs Racing, it's pretty good to be up there with 3 for 3 in round number 1. I would dare say things in Huntersville are probably pretty good.
Yeah, it's been a productive start for the offseason. Productive year, really. All things considered, up and down at times, but kind of take those things in stride. And it just really feels like as a company, we're all pulling the rope in the same direction and being our best when it matters the most.
Yeah, it's been impressive. All 3 cars winning all 3 races of the first round. It takes a lot of pressure off, but just overall, you guys have had pace in all the races. Impressive what you came out of here. We start the round of 12 now, going to New Hampshire. Placed at the 4 next-gen races, 2nd, 1st, 29th, and 1st, with that 29th average running position being in the top 10. Pretty solid place for you guys to head to kick off the round of 12.
Yeah, I can't think of a better place to open up this round than Christopher Bell, taking him to Loudon. It's been a great track course. He really knows what he needs to get around there. We were fortunate to be part of the tire test there recently, so got some extra laps. And, it's just an interesting place. It's so flat and bumpy and unique, and the line moves around a lot, and it just suits a guy that grew up manipulating his car to achieve a balance. So it's a place for him to shine, and hopefully we can get him close and give him what he needs.
Yeah, like you guys needed the advantage of doing the tire test. But as you did that tire test back in July, I believe it was, what do you see that tire changing and what we'll notice out of this race?
Yeah, it was interesting because obviously we all started on the tire we raced last year. And then as soon as possible, they had all of us on wildly different programs. I think I counted the other day, and we had 14 different tire combinations on the car or something like that. It was nuts. I mean, your head was spinning trying to keep track of it all. And, at some point it was just like slap the tires on there, run 25 laps, and let the driver talk to the Goodyear guys and grab the other set, But we did get to spend some time on the race tire. It's the same tire that we ran at Richmond, I believe North Wilkesboro, and we'll be running again later in the year. So it is a little different, though. It's got a little bit more grip. It definitely falls off a little bit more. It changes the balance of the car a little bit, and what it's going to take to optimize and be good on the new combination is definitely a little different than what it took on the old one.
This racetrack, you say we've used it most recently at Richmond, but that's an old worn-out racetrack. But this is a bumpy, semi-worn-out racetrack. Is it a matter of you've got models and programs and simulation that can, if this at Richmond, then this at New Hampshire?
I wish it was that straightforward.
Okay, yeah. That's radio guy Steve trying to make this radio guy.
If you told me it was that straightforward, I was going to tell you I missed it my whole career.
Yeah, maybe it is for somebody else, but it just doesn't seem like it is for us. Every track is so unique, and to draw parallels and correlations, you can do that when the rules packages and the tire combinations are stable for a period of time, but when they change a little bit, all of those relationships change with them, and you have to reestablish them. So, if you just whoever even won Richmond, whoever it was, if they showed up with their setup from Richmond and took it to Loudon, it would not be a great weekend for them. I can promise you that. It's just a totally different animal with the turn radius, the bumps, the banking. It's the surface itself. It's unique.
And there was PJ1 applied to this racetrack, but they haven't done that in about 3 years. But you still almost see the stains of it. Is there some of that you still hunt?
I think that it's in the driver's brains that it's there. Whether there's actually any grip there, I don't know. And what you have, too, is the surface is always changing, right? So there was certainly a time when they quit spraying that there was residual spray. But you have to think, too, that as the cars would run that line, because it was the place they needed to be, they're changing the surface, right? They're the aggregate and the asphalt and that relationship and the surface roughness is changing as they're running that in. So I would seriously doubt after this amount of time that there's any residual PJ1 left, but they've changed the relationship of the lanes by burning that one in over the last few years.
From a mileage standpoint, this is a 300-mile race. We look at Saturday night was a shorter race mileage-wise, but man, what a long day at Bristol, that's for sure. The short nature of this race at New Hampshire, what's the sense of urgency, making sure you come off the truck good? How important is that in your factoring into New Hampshire?
It's always important to come off the truck good, and that seems to be probably more related to how hard it is to pass at a given track than it is the length of the race.
Okay.
You're not going to have a lot of opportunities to work on it at Loudon, so it's imperative there that the balance is close. But it's hard to pass. You know, there is a preferred groove. You have to be quite a bit better than a car in front of you to drive by them. It puts a premium on the restarts, and it is a short race, so that is certainly a factor. But there's a lot that goes into that.
Does the tire change kind of? We've seen two tires play out. I feel like you've won this race on two tires. Does the tire change the crew chief philosophy on strategies on pit road?
I think it will. You know, we did some 50-lap runs, and it slows down quite a bit more than what we've seen or been used to. You know, there was a point in time, once you had some fuel in it to finish, you were going to ride it out. And I don't think that's the situation we're in. But I do think, given the right scenario, you could definitely two-tire it. You know, it always depends on how much fuel you need to put in and how much grip those left sides are giving up. And then it depends on what everybody else is going to do. You know, if you have 5 rows of insurance behind you that are also on rights, that's a pretty good situation. If you got 4 tires right behind you, that makes you nervous.
No doubt. Yeah.
And you need that magic ball that can predict the future to let you know what you're going to have when you come off pit road, right?
That would be nice too. Yep.
Yeah. So I want to look a little back. Obviously, I mean, we started this and didn't talk about a win at Bristol. Takes you on through a challenging race, one that, you know, as I've talked to different people, practice looked like you went 60, 70, 80 laps, no concerns. Lap 26, I think, the first car pits down pit road and shows cords. What's it like to be in that kind of environment and have to kind of adapt to a changing situation?
It was just wild. I can't think of another word. You know, we ran practice and going into the weekend, you know, it's a new right side tire. So we're thinking that there's a chance of that, you know, and Goodyear has definitely, and NASCAR told us that their goal is for extreme tire wear. Probably not 35, 40 laps, but, you know, they wanted it to be 50, 60, 70 laps, and then you really have to manage it. And we run practice, you know, to your point, and, you know, we were all in Group B, and you're keeping such a close eye on those Group A cars, just running around looking at the tires when they come off and leaning over pit wall and seeing if there's cords, and it was fine. And we go out there, and we ran 70-some laps. Some guys ran straight through 80-some laps, and, you know, we wore probably a third of the rubber off the right sides, and you're like, man, it's just normal now. You know, we can run a whole stage, no problem. And you plan the rest of your weekend that way. But, I mean, really, majority of the decisions are made before you get there, you know. But there are some things you can do to mitigate it, especially pre-race with your adjustments. But we just didn't think that was going to be the race we were going to have. And it didn't take long once the race got going that you could see that it was not laying rubber, that it was starting to marble. And you know, I think Christopher mentioned it maybe lap 25 or 27. And it was just a lap or two after that the 16 was going backwards. And then I think the 24 was on pit road, and it was like, oh my gosh, here we go again. And it was a lot of ciphering from that point on to figure out how we were going to navigate the rest of the day.
Adam, this is the multi-million-dollar question for Bristol, and I don't know that anyone knows the answer. What's your theory on what happened between Friday and Saturday night?
Well, I think that there apparently is a threshold temperature for the racing surface that allows it to take rubber or doesn't allow it to take rubber. And I think the threshold temperature for this new right side is probably a little bit higher than the old one.
Okay.
And it's just, if it's not above that temperature, it's not going to lay any rubber down. And if it doesn't lay rubber down, it just rips it off the tire. That's my best guess at this point. It seems to be the prevailing theory, but boy, I mean, there's just no telling. We can go back the next time and learn something else and have a different theory.
Yeah, incredible, and you well executed. You put yourself in position and took advantage of it as you came through. I want to back up a little bit farther, just because I want the deeper inside the race shop piece. Spirited conversation at the end of the Worldwide Technology Raceway between Christopher kind of making comments, and I thought you handled it well. How do you turn that conversation into a productive conversation in the week and leading into, a win the following week?
Yeah, this is a big boy sport, and it's frustrating. As you well know, you can go out there and win 5, 6, 7, 8 races in a year, and that means you got your ass whooped about 30 times, is what that means. Regardless of how good your car was or how smart you were or what happened, So it can be frustrating, and it's frustrating for the drivers, frustrating for the guys, frustrating for myself. And what you don't want is to let those frustrations build up and be expressed over something that isn't the root of the frustration, right? So, the talks in the shop were just getting to the bottom of all the different frustrations and, explaining some of those scenarios away and listening to the other issues and feedback and just talking about it, and we meet at least once a week, sometimes 2-3 times a week. And it's also a point of mine that there's no reason to get to that level of frustration if we're sitting here talking to each other every week. We can air it out on the fly and be on the same page with how the weekend went down and then look forward, right? We got to spend a lot less time looking backwards and a lot more time looking forward.
Does a situation like that actually make the communication path clearer, because you do get these opportunities to kind of focus on what's good? And do you see that? I see it from the outside. I almost see it as a benefit for you guys working through the rest of the playoffs.
Well, it definitely is, right? Because without that situation, all of those deep-rooted things that are inherently frustrating that maybe haven't been talked about, they pile up, right? And they would still be piled up if we didn't have a reason to talk about them, I go back to my KB days, and it was easy to tell when he was frustrated, and it was easy to sort it out. It's a little bit harder to tell when Bell is frustrated. Yeah. And so when you get to this far down the road and it comes out in that way. So this is not something I'm not used to. It's just a matter of how you navigate it individually as teammates and as a team as a whole.
Well, that's true. Yeah, with KB, you didn't have any questions on it. You got it, that's for sure. Adam, when we look at this, we've talked about New Hampshire and your success up there. The next round of races, New Hampshire, Kansas, and the Roval. Seems to me like it sets up good beyond New Hampshire, but just your assessment of this round of 12.
Yes, this round sets up really, really well from us. Obviously, you mentioned our successes at Loudon. Kansas, we didn't have our best stuff there in the spring, and still finished second. We weren't out to lunch by any means, and I feel like our program's in a little bit better shape now, so we should be able to go there and be successful. And the Roval, we were in second there last year, and our road course stuff's been really strong all year. We're probably one of the only ones that seems like can run with the 88 most days. It sets up well. I think it's a good opportunity for us to possibly win a race and win some stages and gather up some more bonus points for the dreaded round of 8.
The dreaded round of 8
yeah. Okay, I'm gonna extend this here once just because I had it on my things. But how do you look? I know we're not focused past the round of 12. I guess 2 things. Is the Roval a wild card race? Because I don't feel like it is. I think it's almost gotten to be calmer. And how do you approach the round of 8 with Talladega smack dab in the middle of it?
Definitely the Roval is a little bit calmer with all of the track modifications they've made. Mm-hmm. You used to have to center punch those turtles and it would just rip your car apart, and you'd have to build a tank to go there to prevent that, And they've changed the track layout, or you can't really do that, and you're certainly not rewarded for it if you do. So it's a little bit easier on the cars. Probably see a lot less mistakes. The runoffs, if you miss the quarter, are a little bit more generous. It's just not as treacherous and sketchy as it was. Not that you can't go there and have somebody lock up inside you going into the front stretch chicane and end up backwards. You certainly can. But you see there's just not as much calamity there as what we've seen years past with all the track mods. What was the second question?
Talladega in the middle of the round of 8. How do you approach that one?
I don't know. If I could back up a semi to the Penske shop and steal one of their cars, I certainly would. But it just seems like those guys are hard to beat, and they're always up front. They don't always win, but they're always in position to win. And something about their package, their program, their setups, and their driver prep that just lends them to being super fast on the speedways. And, you hope that you're in a situation where you can have a solid day and you don't need a home run there. But that's what puts so much pressure on Vegas. You got to go to Vegas and do your best to win. And if you can't win, you need to score as many points as you possibly can. Set yourself up for the rest of that round. And then it's just a matter of how many winners there are. If there's 3 winners, then there's only 1 car on points. And if there's 0 winners, then we got 4 cars on points. So it changes the math dramatically, and it'll be race by race.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you get down to Talladega, you go to tame Martinsville. So we'll see what happens with it. So fun stuff. Adam, we do appreciate the time. We kept you a little longer than we usually like to do here, but we needed to get into that round of 8 and Roval stuff. But thanks for the time, and we'll look forward to see what you have in New Hampshire this weekend.
All right. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
There we go. Adam Stevens joining us from over at Joe Gibbs Racing. Stay with us. More in just a moment.
3, 2, 1. Start your engine.
The NASCAR channel is streaming now, exclusively on Tubi.
Tell them we got it.
Go deeper into NASCAR with 24/7 news, documentaries, and explore the vault of timeless NASCAR stories and unforgettable races. From crushing defeats to the thrill of victory.
Go, baby!
The NASCAR channel, always on, always free. Only on Tubi.
Welcome back to Crew Call. Todd Gordon and Steve Post here, and always good to catch up with Adam Stevens. He just has such good insight in the sport, and he's able to explain things really good. Really, really neat to catch up with him, and they're going to be a handful Las Vegas or for New Hampshire this weekend for some folks.
There'll be a handful at Las Vegas too when we finally get there. But definitely, like I started out with, next gen stats: second, 20, I don't know, 2 seconds.
2 wins, a second.
2 wins, a second, and 29th.
29th.
And the 29th isn't indicative because their average running position was 9 point something.
Yeah. We had Christopher on Media Day, and we asked, how does the playoff tracks line up for you? And he just lit up. And well, why wouldn't you? If you're Christopher Bell and you got New Hampshire to kick off the next round, I mean, it's just, but to the point, Kansas, they finished second in the spring. Roval, they finished second. Yeah, and he's right. If you have to pick somebody that's going to run with SVG on a road course,
he's going to be in a Gibbs car.
Yeah, he's going to be in a Gibbs car for sure. So,
I mean, if you look back to Mexico City, it was Ty Gibbs.
Right.
If you look at Sonoma, it was Chase Briscoe. I mean,
it's going to be. Yeah, exactly.
And we've talked to Chris Gapehart earlier this season about this, and he really said if it weren't for the 88 team, our road course program is exceptional.
Jeez, yeah, you're right about that.
I mean, to everybody else, it is. So this round, I think, sets up well for JGR, who swept the first round.
Yes, absolutely.
They're in a really good spot right now.
They're in a good spot for sure. Those headed to New Hampshire in a good spot. You dialed up the weather, and I know it's early in the week here, but 70-ish degrees.
I got 72, 67, 72, and full sunshine.
Full sunshine in New Hampshire. That's a beautiful weekend up there. What a fun weekend. What an incredible racetrack. And this racetrack is a huge challenge for everybody as well, Todd. It's just going to be an awesome weekend.
It is. It's tough, as Adam talked about. It's tough to pass. You got to strategize your way in there, but good cars can do it. And you've got to have good cars. So he talked about the bumps The bumps into turn 3 in the braking zone, a nightmare for crew chiefs and engineers. Just trying to get through those, not hammering the splitter, and how you can get your car to kind of settle through those bumps, because it's right where you want to start to turn yourself in. You're getting loose in because you're across the bumps. A big challenge for these crew chiefs and teams to get through the bumps into turn 3. A worn out surface. And kind of progressive. The bottom lane here was actually an apron.
Apron, yeah.
I mean, it's flat. It might be running water the other way, and then a little bit of banking to it, but it's only like 6 or 7 degrees. So I think it's a great strategy, like great test of everything. And it, like you talked about, you don't get a lot of opportunities on pit road. We'll see whether the new tire forces these guys down pit road more often.
Another pit stop or so, yeah.
But it's a short race, one you got to be on top of to unload.
Unload fast and make sure you have a good setup, because you don't get much chance to adjust it. It is. I just think I loved Adam's answer about. I always ask about dirt track drivers at places like this, and I think Adam was really interesting. He knows how to get his car to the balance point. We talk about that dirt track searching around and trying to find the fast way in the race car. You can find the fast way around the race car, but can you make your car balanced in that fast way around the race car? And I thought there was just a little twist to that, and there'll be a lot of searching around up there in New Hampshire, especially getting into turn number 3, trying to find that fast way into 3. So going to be awesome. That is for sure. Our friends at the Performance Racing Network, well, actually on Saturday, it's the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. The NASCAR Radio Network has that coverage. And then the NASCAR Cup Series, the Mobile One 301 Performance Racing Network has the call on Sunday afternoon. And then we'll get back to work in Kansas.
Yeah.
Man, I love that one too.
Looking forward to that one.
It's going to be awesome. Going to be a great round of 12. That is for sure for the NASCAR Cup Series. He's Todd Gordon. I'm Steve Post. We appreciate Adam Stevens joining us from up at Joe Gibbs Racing. More important, though, than all of that, thank you for joining us this time on Crew Call here on the Motor Racing Network.